Documentary premieres on BFBS Extra tonight. What happened to bomber NP711? In this Forces News special, a former Dutch Marine investigates what happened to the 7-man crew of a Halifax that disappeared on a bombing raid over Germany in 1945. Documentary producer Rob Olver and crash site investigator Eric Weeman join me now. Hello both, how are you?
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for coming to tell us about it. It's a really amazing documentary, which we're going to get to see on the TV tonight, which you've been working on for some time, haven't you, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, this probably goes back years because I first met Eric Weeman, who's a former Dutch Marine, way back. It must have been 5-6 years ago, I think. He'd basically put up a memorial at a crash site, a World War II crash site. And that's basically how I got to know him. And I learnt that he discovered so many of these forgotten crash sites from World War II.
And Eric, how do you go about that work? Where does your passion come from? And how do you decide what to investigate?
Well, the stories of my grandfather in the Second World War when these bombers passed Holland for Germany. And now I live in Germany. I have a German wife. And I found out that in this area, many of these bombers crashed. And mostly nothing is done about it, so you cannot see anything anymore. And I decided to change this.
It's over 70 years that this crash site has been hiding in plain sight somewhere. So how challenging is this work?
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty easy because it's close to houses or things like that. But for example, the crash site in Leistad is in the middle of the woods. And only one witness knew about it. One living witness. He showed me the approximate site. And when these witnesses are gone, it's very, very difficult to find these sites.
Well, we've got a clip of that moment that you were first investigating this area that you'd been tipped off about. Let's have a listen to a clip.
Leistad is only a few miles southwest of the city of Worms. Could this be where the bomber ends up? Deep in the primeval forest, Eric notices telltale signs.
Very dense woods over there, but not here.
Where there should be ancient trees, there are only younger ones. He suspects it's the signature of a massive explosion.
Then I went up, walked into this dent over there, put a few leaves away, and I found a part of an aircraft.
But is it from the Halifax that flies from Linton-on-Ouse in late February 1945? Call sign NP711, crewed by 6 Canadians and a Royal Air Force engineer.
How does it feel when you're investigating and you think you might be on the right track, Eric? Is it emotional?
Yeah, it's a lot of work, pre-work before we go to the sites. And then you see this space and you find these parts. Yeah, that's very emotional, yeah, because, these are almost grave sites. In the case of NP711, the bomber just evaporated because it still had all his bombs aboard. And then, there could be still pieces of these men around me.
Yeah. And of course, the other aspect of this is that you're trying to get families much longed for answers. We've got another clip, actually, of an amazing coincidence that you had. Let's just have a listen to this one as well.
Today, Eric is meeting another relative for the first time. Matt Wakeham is from Australia. Eric wants to show him a crash site he's preparing to excavate.
Yeah, also behind this school nursery, that's where it crashed. Yep. And the woods over there, on that side.
A Lancaster bomber, he thinks, shot down near Ludwigshafen on the 5th of January 1945. The pilot, Matt's grandfather, Flying Officer Charles Wakeham, managing to bail out in the narrowest of escapes. It's only 2 weeks since Eric contacted Charles Wakeham's son in Australia, learning to his surprise that the Lancaster pilot's grandson now lives in Germany. And not only that, he and the Dutchman work in the same complex, a large chemical plant in Ludwigshafen, which in the strangest twist of all was Matt's grandfather's target.
What an amazing coincidence.
Yeah, that was awesome. I never had something like this before. We contacted the son of the pilot, and he said, I have family in Germany. He said, he's a doctor at a big chemical plant. And big chemical plant, the biggest one is where I work, that I know of. Then I asked him, he said, yeah, BASF. I said, no, that's not possible. So a few days later, we met. Awesome.
It must be rewarding to give families these answers. Of course, it's tragic circumstances, but you're giving them answers that they've never had, aren't you?
Yeah, they have a lot of questions when I first contact them, and normally it's over a few years until the memorial is erected. And I give them all the information I have, insights in the crash site. Sometimes we find personal items of the crew. And normally they do not know where it was. They only know he crashed in the war, he died, or he bailed out, but they never know where it was exactly. And now I can show them.
Yeah, it gives them a place to go to remember. And Rob,
Right.
How challenging was this to capture? You're running around forests, we can see.
Yes, a lot of rain. I think Eric will verify that. I was a bit of a rain god, so that was a major challenge. But I should just mention, actually, there was one thing which I will never forget, because I had to go and film the graves of the crew. They're now at the Rheinberg Cemetery on the German-Dutch border. And once again, as I was travelling down there, it was pouring with rain. And I got to this place and I thought, I'm never going to be able to film these graves. And would you believe, I found the graves and the rain stopped and the sun came out for about 2 minutes. And I just said to them, I said, you know I'm here, don't you? Quite a moment.
Yeah, there's lots of moments of this kind of serendipity and all those puzzle pieces coming together. It's going to be an amazing watch. It's on BFBS Extra. It's tonight. It's What Happened to Bomber NP711. Rob and Eric, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you
You're
very much.
welcome.